Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean and Marc, and here with me, as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
Not on camera today because it apparently where he is, it's like above 95, and
Yeah.
the AC is
Yeah.
not working.
Don't. I don't have AC. I don't have central air. But
You
also
don't
don't
have
expect
such a okay.
my camera to be on for 2 months while I'm sweating my ass off in my room.
No, I get you. I know someone that doesn't have central air either, and oh, it is not great when I go over there. So
Right.
I know how that is. But today. This is like the week in between, and of course, we didn't know until this morning that apparently there's going to be a Nintendo Direct tomorrow. So of course, Nintendo would do that, right? Um, can't do it on a Tuesday because I technically actually have to work because I'm taking Anaya to a concert on Wednesday. So if not, I would have probably just delayed it and had done it on Tuesday, like right after. But we're gonna do it today on the regular time slot. We are talking about if Astrobot needs PlayStation nostalgia to be able to work. Starfield is going to be getting annual story DLC, according to Todd Howard. The Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is actually real, according to leakers and a certain well known journalist, and other stuff that we're going to be talking about here. So let's get into all that and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so let's just go ahead and get this out of the way here. The housekeeping. You can watch us live if you want, especially if you subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Twitch. YouTube is where we kind of do most of our stuff. So if you go to WTM Network on YouTube, around this time, like around 5:30, 6-ish on Mondays when we do the show live, and then it'll be there on demand right after. And then it'll show up on podcasts probably at least a day later or so. And you can go subscribe on podcasts, Video Games to the Max there. And anywhere that we have socials, WTM Network on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all that, you can subscribe there and watch. You can also follow Mark on Twitch at Humanity Plague and me at WTM Sean. Apparently, Facebook does not let you post lives to Facebook anymore unless you have like a show page like, the network does. So whatever, Facebook, you do your thing. But either way, you can still watch this or listen to us in various ways. And if you do subscribe to the YouTube channel, you not only get what we do here with video games, but you get all of our other stuff, which if you like anime and especially keep up with the new anime that comes out like every season, we got the Otaku Cafe guys. They do an awesome job like keeping up with all that, and they like review a lot of it. So if you like to keep up with the new anime, they will do that for you and help you out. And of course, if you like keeping up with the movies and TV shows, we got a crew that does that as well. Relative Broadcasting folks, they do an awesome job. They just did the Bad Boys for Life review. They had recently done the Garfield movie review as well. I'm sure they will be doing, more reviews as the movies continue to come. So, yeah, look out for that if you're a big movie fan. So, that being said, I think we can go ahead and get started here talking about the video games. Even though both of us are not like up on the newest thing going on, but maybe that'll change next week. Are you gonna be playing that Elden Ring DLC as soon as it
I hope
drops?
so. Yeah, me and Jens will hopefully be able to play it.
All right, so we could definitely talk about that next week because I know that's what everybody is waiting on this Friday to hit, so you can get into Elden Ring once again. Everybody's anticipating that.
Funny enough, it drops on Jens's birthday.
Hey, there you go. See, they knew it. They knew it was time for Jens on that. So I guess let's get started here with the Astrobot stuff, just because I found it interesting. I mean, we are fans of the Astrobot game, but I can kind of see it from the perspective of, I don't know if PlayStation would greenlight it or not, but there was an interview that came out with VGC actually at Summer Game Fest. The creative director actually kind of talked about Astro being a flexible IP that's capable of standing on its own 2 feet. That they had actually started talking about this game about including the PlayStation stuff, the PlayStation nostalgia stuff that was heavily in Astro's Playroom. I don't remember it being so big in Rescue Mission, but maybe I'm wrong. But definitely Astro's Playroom, that was all in there.
Yeah, it wasn't. Right.
Yeah. That was all that game was about, was basically just biting on PlayStation nostalgia because it was your PS5 and you love PlayStation and you're going to want to, play that game and all that. So they thought about it and they said, why not? We can do it. So why not just continue with the PlayStation nostalgia for this game and basically making it its own full-fledged game. But he did say that if they could, it could stand on its own 2 feet. So do you think that if you're looking for it to sell well, does it have to have that PlayStation nostalgia, or do you think they could do it without that?
It doesn't have to, and in like some specific ways it may hurt. Like if it's like a new, like a young kid playing the game or something, they might not have the history.
Right.
But
yeah.
I think the problem with Astro in general is like it's a non-character or a non-entity. It's not like the wisecracking hedgehog or the overly enthusiastic plumber. Like Astro is a blank fucking slate.
Yeah.
So he's kind of right in that respect, but also like it's harder for like a kid to glom onto a character that has no character.
Yeah, his character is kind of like waving at you and just being a robot that does funny stuff.
Doesn't have a talk, or doesn't have like even like an established bad guy.
Hell,
no,
definitely, yeah.
Even Crash Bandicoot had that going for him. I mean, hell, why not just make a new Croc game instead?
Yeah, I mean, he says that also, right? He says that that's one of the things he loves about Astrobot is that they didn't write some big backstory for Astro. They're not too precious about the details other than the design of the character. The rest is really open. And even like you said, the bosses that we saw, I guess, quote unquote bosses in Astro's Playroom, kind of bit on the nostalgia as well. It wasn't really like, oh, here we're trying to establish that this is like Astro's nemesis or something like that.
Sure, I mean, I can kind of see its point, but also like, think about how many memorable Mario villains there are. Even aside from Koopa / Bowser, I mean, you have like the Koopa kids, or you go into any game store and they have half a dozen like Bullet Bills or Goombas or Koopa Troopers for sale, stuff like that. Or even like Sonic and his menagerie of awful animal friends. Like, most of them by name probably.
Yeah.
And like, Astro doesn't have that.
No, definitely not. But I mean, to be fair, this is like the first time they're really trying to branch Astro into being a sellable commodity, right?
Right.
So I guess we can give them the benefit of the doubt of.
Yeah, but even like the trailer looked very, I wouldn't say Spartan, but like antiseptic or very, not, personable. Like I guess just for me, like it's 2024. Like, Astro should have a fucking voice.
I mean, I don't know. Link works without a voice, right?
But Link also came from a time in 1985.
Yeah, but there's nothing that says he can't have a voice later on if we're going to go by that metric,
At least Link can like groan occasionally or yells out in pain. I mean, I agree with you also. Like, yeah, Link should have like a voice protagonist because it comes off as like super weird nowadays. But
yeah, especially when you're going to do a Link, a Legend of Zelda movie, like I cannot imagine they're going to have him not talk throughout that entire
it'll be starring
thing.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that's? It's like, hey, well, we have to continue the Chris Pratt being the Nintendo leading man throughout this. So, I'm
just saying, like, yes, like, it doesn't have to have like a personality, but like it kind of diminishes at least a little of the interest for me personally, because it's like, why am I even playing the game then? Or like, what's the objective? It's not like,
right, yeah. At
hey,
that point, you're just playing the game to play the game.
Yeah, it's not like save the planet or go rescue your friends or go. It's just like, oh well, collect these bolt. I forget there's some collectible. I think it's like bolts or screws or something, and that's about it. And it's like, you don't have to play Ratchet and Clank for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of the PlayStation collectibles, which I'm sure those will continue in here. I mean, the trailer has a freaking skyrocketing PS5 in it, so
right.
And I think the whole point is to save the various PlayStation mascot characters that were in the Astro's Playroom as well. So this one has like 100 of them. So yeah, it very, very much is using that PlayStation sort of, hey, we have a lot of franchises that you may know. Like you said, this is one that I think definitely, if you're going to introduce it to kids, you might have to have like, your dad there with you that does recognize all that stuff and just say like, hey, that's from this game and that's from this game. And then maybe they'll get it.
Right.
But I'm assuming the whole point is to eventually make this thing into its own deal where you can have an Astro game every 3, 4 years or whatever.
Right.
So that would be the aim here. But I guess on the first try, why not? But I do wonder if, in order for it to sell well, do you need that outside of always aiming for it to be a PlayStation launch title or something, I guess. But yeah, I do think that that's something they may, they do need to kind of look into that of saying, okay, well, maybe Astro does need to have this personified nemesis. Maybe Astro does need to have more of a character, more of something you can latch on to. Do you need to push him into other media like Sony's been doing with some of their other properties?
Right.
In order to get him bigger and more well-known to be able to push that PlayStation nostalgia away. I mean, you could always just make it, that's the PlayStation nostalgia game also, right? That's kind of one of the quirks of it of, okay, this is what you're going to get.
Since Little Big Planet failed.
Yeah, since Little Big Planet kind of failed. And then, of course, now Tencent owns that company. So now Sony kind of has to deal with that if they want to go make another Little Big Planet game. I do wonder if that somewhat has to do with why they just kind of said, okay, Little Big Planet 3, we can sunset you now, and it is what it is.
Well, they make another Little Big Planet like later on.
Well, that PS5 launch game.
Right, yeah.
Right. And that sold okay. It didn't sell, bonkers numbers or whatever. But again, when you have a free game that comes with the PS5 that kind of does similar things to, Sackboy and A Little Big Planet, I don't think you have to have necessarily everybody jump out and go buy the platformer.
Right.
So, I think that kind of might have hurt it as well. I remember that game being good for the most part. Most people seem to like it. So
yeah, but I think even that point's kind of wearing thin because it's just like, another one of these.
It's another one of like, hey, we know what we're doing here. Yeah,
right.
Is. But speaking of playing PlayStation games here, they did release the PlayStation Premium and Extra games for this month, which you can, actually, I think this stuff is, I don't know if that's from June or not. But yeah, Monster Hunter Rise, So All Managers 2024, Crusader Kings 3, Anno 1800, which we talked about last week. They announced a new Anno game with the Ubisoft thing, and a bunch of Lego games in here. Again, I don't know why we need to split the Star Wars. The 2 Lego games are part of the extra thing, and then Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which is also on PS4 and PS5, is in the premium thing. Whatever. Sony will maybe someday explain this. And this is the first time we're going to get that PSVR 2 game in here, Kayak VR Mirage. I know everybody's been waiting to play that on your PSVR 2. Some decent stuff. Monster Hunter Rise definitely the one to take the cake if you're a big Monster Hunter fan. And Crusader Kings 3 is pretty good as well. So some good stuff in there for sure. Todd Howard was on with Mr. Mighty Plays. Of course, he's part of the duo with Defining Duke, and of course, he has his own YouTube channel. Very pretty big YouTuber for the most part. And he had got two big sort of questions that he got to ask Todd here as part of the interview, and one of them was what they're doing with Starfield. You know, they're going to release Shattered Space at some point this year, and he asked them, well, what are we doing? You know, what's beyond that? Is there anything beyond Shattered Space? And he said that essentially, when talking about expansion, he said more or less, yeah, we're doing one about every year on an annual basis. How long that continues beyond that is obviously uncertain. You know, at some point they have to be doing well, whether Game Pass or people are buying them outside of Game Pass if you don't have Game Pass. Do you think that that's a good idea for this kind of game? I mean, I know Fallout 4 had a bunch of expansions and the other Fallout games as well, but
well, Fallout 4 had a bunch of expansions, but I don't think people really liked them.
Right.
And I think there was only like 2 story-based ones, and the other 2 or 3 were like, here's some more crap for the camp, or, you know, more parts, and that's about it. If it's like actual good story-based content, sure. But I think his plan or his idea, like, people are going to be playing Starfield 5-10 years from now. It's like, you're not No Man's Sky.
Right. And, I mean, but it could be like they want it to be Skyrim, right? They want it to be
yeah, but Skyrim also had a much better word of mouth, and also kept re-releasing on shit to keep it, you know.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, all that's left is to release it on your fridge or anything other electronic device in your house that's not a phone or PC. Just, you know, put it on your toaster. You got the Xbox toasters out there now, so
right.
Why not?
So also, I think like the Skyrim just had a much better word of mouth, and even much better. I mean, most of the Skyrim DLC wasn't great either. It was more, you know, here's the Hearth DLC. It's like, great, but it's like, here's the one story based DLC. It's like, okay, this is what I wanted. Do
Right.
more of this, and then they're like, well, we're gonna release more stuff for you to put in the house. It's like, okay, and then that was it.
Yeah, people like the Oblivion DLC.
Yeah.
It feels like,
right.
So some of those were well received for the most part. The Shattered Space, I think there was a lot of people that weren't necessarily into Starfield. I think even you said it. You know, this made it much more appealing to you.
Yeah, it looked like an actual had a personality, or like had something interesting to do. So
yeah, if they're gonna do more stuff like this, then I welcome them doing more annual sort of release. I'm sure like they did when they released this, where they had other content that came like that night, you know, the creation suite and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm sure that there will be other updates that they do, but I mean, if this catches on, if this does well and gets a lot of people that are more into Starfield because of it, then I'm sure that will mean that they will continue with the maybe even biannual updates at that point.
Yeah.
It all depends, I think, on that front of how well does this do, and that determines how much we're going to keep producing for this, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't do well, then you think Shattered Space is gonna? I don't know. I feel like Shattered Space is gonna bring people in to Starfield that necessarily didn't play the first time around.
I think it will, maybe a little, but I don't. Well, that's the thing is, how much of regular Starfield do you have to play to get into this DLC?
Yeah, that's gonna be. I don't think they would make it to where you have to beat the whole game, because then I think that's
right. Or if it's just like you can just launch it and
mhm.
it's completely separate. Who knows?
Right. I'm sure they'll give you more details on that as it goes on, but that's a good idea by them to at least have a plan. He said for sure there's one after this one, and
Yeah.
then beyond that, it is gonna probably go based on how well it does. He also said that they're not really they're at any point are they going to be rushing the development of Fallout 5 or any Fallout game for that matter to try to capitalize on the Amazon TV show. He says that basically he feels like it's okay to miss stuff as well. And that basically he feels like there's really not anything that they could do that they can't already do in Fallout 76. So there's really not a point to trying to rush out and get something going. He did kind of hint that they do have things going on with maybe those. I'm not sure if it's internal or external partners, but he says he doesn't want to talk about that because look at the stuff that we're already dealing with where we have no idea when Elder Scrolls 6 and beyond that Fallout 5 are going to come out because they announced those so long ago. He doesn't want to keep doing that. Even Starfield, remember, he announced it November 11, 2022, and then it didn't even come out till the year after that, almost a year later. So I'm sure he learned from that time of seeing like, yeah, let's not start putting a date on things and letting people start speculating and getting upset about this isn't out yet, this hasn't been talked about in a while, whatever.
I think he's
yeah.
I think he's kind of lying about Fallout 76, like the whole like, oh, anything you want to do, you can do it in that game. It's like, no, you can't, because you can't make VATS work in that game.
Yeah, no, they can't. That's one thing, but maybe he feels like that works without VATS to a certain point for people that are into that.
Also, it's some microtransaction, hellscape.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, but it's also a MMO of sorts, so they want you to be buying those things. It makes sense. Obviously, he doesn't want people to look. They're about to put out an expansion for that thing again. So why are you going to announce a new Fallout thing and then get people to be like, well, technically you can play it, most of it with Game Pass. I think all of it with Game Pass right now. So you don't necessarily need to go out and buy it, but still you want people to get excited about that thing and don't just be like, okay, well, I'll just wait for the next Fallout thing to come out or whatever, even if it is a year or two away or however long it is away. Even though I really don't know what, other than making another Fallout Shelter thing, I don't know what could they really come out with that's going to come out fast. Outside of a remaster, maybe, but even that, they just put all those games on sale. I mean, do you really need to remaster them? I mean, there was rumors of a Fallout 3 remaster.
Yeah, I talked about that a few weeks ago about how they expected to generate $200 million, and that's like, no.
If that thing's even getting made, because, people like to speculate a lot and then finds out they're not even doing that at all. But hey, the same was thought of for a while for that Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, and apparently, it is happening.
One thing they could actually do with Fallout is that Fallout London thing is supposed to be coming out pretty soon.
Right.
I would try to buy it, like the project outright from the team. I would say maybe fix it up a little, or make sure it's of a good quality and to release it.
Yeah, they could do that. That the only issue with that is like, what if it doesn't meet that quality? And then we're talking about a lot more development time.
I would say play it like if they could do that, play it first, or give it a good look, and then if it does meet whatever minimum standard of quality that Microsoft has, then you buy it and put it out, and then go here's Fallout 4 with this whole new, London expansion. Here you go.
I'm surprised that Microsoft hasn't tried to.
They're always kind of skittish. Well, companies are usually pretty skittish about like fan-made stuff,
right?
And the problem with this is like, who knows how many people actually worked on that thing? If they'd have to get like the okay from everybody, or how they pay that out necessarily. But it has been done before, like not officially, but I think Warcraft 2. No, StarCraft. That was it. Like way back in the day, like a team released their own like StarCraft campaign, like physically. I was like, this is an unofficial campaign, but if you want to play more StarCraft, here you go.
Yeah. Hey, if I'm Microsoft, I'm sitting there looking at it going, well, you could put it under the official like Fallout banner. Yes, there's probably income that then you have to pay these people, and then also pay whatever team it Bethesda that works on that,
right?
And all that stuff too. And then I'm sure most of that team's already busy on Starfield, anyway. So I mean, do you have people you could pull off to kind of check this to see what's going on? All those things. So
right.
Yep. Even though we don't really know who's working on it, the rumors are that Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is real and in development, according to Jason Schreier. Now, before it was, the famous leaker Midori, who usually leaks Atlas stuff, has been starting to leak Square Enix stuff. We talked about Midori, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I think when it came to like the Final Fantasy 9 remake, which that's still sort of making the rounds, and then that also got possibly leaked by now there's going to be an Epic Games like DB page, like the way that Steam has one, and that the Final Fantasy 16 coming over there, but which we already knew there was a PC version of that. And then apparently the other one is perhaps Final Fantasy 9 remake, but that's not been confirmed. But Jason Schreier did go on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit page and apparently confirmed that yes, after people were getting upset about, oh man, I don't know about this Midori's leaking stuff and it doesn't seem credible, and he's saying, oh hi, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is real and it is happening. And they do have a team out there that still has plenty of people from Vagrant Story, from the Evil East team, all that, in Creative Business Unit 3 that could be working on this. So it makes sense. Of course, we haven't had an actual version of Final Fantasy Tactics since 1998. That was the original, and that's when they released in the US. And then, of course, you had that PSP War of the Lions. And then it's been like ported over to iOS and Android since then. Are you excited about this at all? Or
I never played Tactics. I played it like very briefly way back in the day, but like a half hour, like so.
Right.
I'm not the person to ask. I would say good for. I mean, if they want to, it's a double-sided thing. If they want to tell their own story, or if they want to continue their story from Tactics, go for it. But if they want to turn it into some nightmarish hellscape of all the Final Fantasy characters, you can, are in this one game, and you can play it against other people, or some like gotcha game monstrosity.
Yeah.
Hell no.
It feels like if they're doing this, it is it's a very faithful remake or remaster. I don't think that they would be doing anything like that. That could be something that they could do maybe if Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster takes off and does well and sells well. They could, do their own version of Dissidia Tactics, or I'm just using the Dissidia name because that's kind of like what they do with the fighting games.
Right, yeah. Well, that's actually a good example, because like I kind of like Dissidia 1 and 2 on the PSP.
Right.
And then they made Dissidia NT, and it was a clusterfuck. So
yeah,
I wouldn't, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be awesome if they could just make a Final Fantasy Tactics 2 if Remaster does well. I would hope they wouldn't try to just, let's make this into a franchise thing. Like, no, we don't need that. Like, the whole nice thing about it is that it's set within the universe of
it's
Ivalice,
self-contained, or
it has ties to 12 and 14 and Vagrant Story and all that. Like, it's nice that it has all those little ties and it can stay in that world, and it doesn't have to be like, let's make it an entire Final Fantasy thing. The original did have, you could unlock Cloud and stuff like that.
But like that was pretty hard to do,
right?
And it didn't obviously cost money. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that, though. I won't be surprised by at all if they try to put in DLC where you can now, here's like characters in Final Fantasy 7.
No,
here's characters,
No, you're not even thinking big enough. Like, think about like a Dragon Ball game, how they have, Goku, kid, Goku teen, Goku adult, first arc, and then Goku Super Saiyan 2, all this crap. They'll have like Cloud, Final Fantasy 7, Cloud Young, Final Fantasy 7, Cloud remake, then Cloud Young remake, all that, they'll have like multiple versions of Cloud, and they'll have like, you can unlock Waka from Kingdom Hearts, even though
no.
Titus. So he's only in it for like a scene, but you can unlock him. It's like, great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, that game does kind of lend itself to like, well, they're just characters that you put on the board and you can unlock them and stuff like that. So I hope not. I hope if they do, that's like a pack that you introduce like way later. And it's not something that you introduce like right off the bat to kind of make the game much different than it actually was. I feel like tactics games are in that, like, sort of, it has its niche, and you could even say it has like a resurgence moment. So if there was a time to release this and have it come out, I think there is a moment here where you could capitalize on that and have it be a win for you. And of course, that means that's another game off the GeForce Now NVIDIA leak that comes true, especially if Final Fantasy 9 Remake also comes true. I think that's pretty much it. Like, almost everything that was on that leak has come out or is officially announced or something. So let's make it happen, folks. Let's make it happen. Another one that I agree, I thought we would see something about this at the Ubisoft Forward, maybe, or even like in a sizzle reel. Perhaps this will be a game because, we know Switch loves their ports and their old games. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition Remaster could be coming. Now we have PlayStation trophies leak, which is what's making people think that the release is rather imminent for this. There's apparently 35 trophies in here, including a platinum, which that's obvious.
Well, they just stealth dropped that Bite and Kaidos thing on Steam, so who knows?
Yeah,
they could just do that instead.
Yeah, but at least that had the release on Switch before.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of okay to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that tomorrow. With the way Switch is, like, we know it's in the twilight of its existence. We're just waiting for that successor that they now have said officially again. Don't expect any news on the Switch successor at this direct at all. But yeah, at least good on them for giving you those expectations right off the bat.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Beyond Good and Evil. I don't know that I would buy it again, at least not on Switch, but yeah.
I never played it. I have like probably at least 2 copies of it though.
Yeah.
I remember like way back in the day, I think like that came out in like 2005, didn't it? 2006.
Yeah, it's around that
I think
time.
at one point in like 2008, they were like giving it away for free in boxes of cereal.
Wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was on the Xbox Games for Gold and stuff like that at one point or another, various times. It's actually came out in 2003.
Yeah.
So even earlier. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure that by then they were probably giving out it a Boston cereal and everything else you can imagine at that point. But yeah, cool. If that shows up, go ahead.
It wasn't cereal. They're giving it away with blocks of cheese, which is like the more bewildering.
In the U.S. or like in another country?
No, in the U.S. Because I remember like the Hotspot talking about it way back in the day.
Is there a connection to cheese that I don't remember in
No,
that game?
like it would make it more sense if it came in the fucking box of cereal. You know?
Yeah. I don't know why you connected to cheese, but okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess gets people going with that. Sure. Star Wars Outlaws can be finished in 30 hours, apparently, and 50 to 60 for completionists. They said that apparently it has been designed that way from the very start. You golden path it between 25 to 30 hours, and if you want to complete everything, 50 to 60. So it's not going to be the Assassin's Creed Valhalla 200-hour game.
Right.
Which, thank God, it's not. We're fans of this, right? Like, it's a good idea that we have a shorter game that Ubisoft is making. Like,
well, they'll have DLC for it, so that'll add some.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, like that stupid one mission, the Jabba the Hutt mission.
The Jabba the Hutt thing that you have to pay the premium price for. Yeah.
You know, yeah. There's a sweet spot between too short and too long. You know.
No, yeah, definitely. I am a fan. Look, I get it for the people that do the whole like counting money and value for money and all that stuff. But hey, you're gonna make me spend $70. Now $70 for stuff. I get it in the aspect of 30 hours. That's not enough for what I gotta get out of it. Or whatever, and it's like
like the dollar to hour ratio or that stupid crap.
Yeah,
it's like it's like people still play Call of Duty, and it's like
no, definitely. I mean, I don't think every game needs every Ubisoft game doesn't need to be 100 hours,
right?
So I think it's good that they made this in a way so you can beat it. It's perfect. I think it's really perfect for the people that they want to sell that service to and subscribe and forget about it.
It's good because if you just want to mainline it, here you go. But if you do fall in love with it and you want to squeeze every drop out of it, it's double the length.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a lot in there. I mean, it's going to be a meaty game. It's somewhat like open, so there is that as well. There's going to be stuff for you to do, and like you said, there's going to be DLC. I'm sure that they're already kind of thinking about expansions and stuff like that beyond that as well. So yeah, in total, when they get done with everything, it'll be much longer than that. So you'll definitely make your money's worth, even though you'll have to pay for those expansions beyond that. But yeah, it is the way it is with games nowadays. I mean, if you're still complaining about DLC coming out, it's almost like being a dinosaur at this point. Like it just happens. Just expect that we're gonna get that. With the way games are now, where everything has to continue and go on and all of that stuff. I forgot to mention this when we were still talking about games that haven't come out yet. There's going to be a Quiet Place game now. That's not a series that I thought of when I've watched the first two movies. I'm not going to go to the theater to watch the third one, but I'll watch it when it comes to streaming, like I have the other two.
I don't know. I could buy a game out of it. Like a really stealthy game like that. Sure, like having like the Amnesia game or like one of those types of things. It ain't gonna be like the 6-hour Call of Duty campaign or anything like that.
Definitely not
bombastic thing. But That actually kind of makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, yeah, if they can certainly replicate the audio stuff, which is what makes that movie kind of scary, is the whole everything is kind of silent and then you randomly hear different things.
Right.
Yeah, they could definitely do that with the different, whatever monsters they're going to put in here. And the team behind it, Stormmind Games, they're the Italian studio behind Remothered. So they do have experience with survival horror, and they also worked on that RPG, the Batora Lost Haven, which is a decent indie game as well. So, yeah, it's called A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead officially, and Saber Interactive is the publisher on it. We know the history with Saber splitting from Embracer and all that we've talked about a few times.
Here's why I'm more interested than not, I would say. It's not a fucking VR game.
Right, exactly. It's not. I mean, I feel like we've gotten a lot of really good survival horror games that aren't necessarily Resident Evil, so the track record is there.
That Jurassic Park survival game was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you
and
there.
That's also Saber, so yeah.
Yeah. Apparently you're going to be playing as a young woman that kind of is going through dealing with these apocalyptic nightmare creatures and all the stuff that you kind of deal with with those movies with the family trying to go through, and then what happens with the town and all that stuff. So yeah, it should be. I would think I'd agree with you. I think it could be a good game, all things considered, and they definitely could ramp up the horror for it. So I'm down with that.
Will they get Emily Blunt to somehow voice the mom character?
No, I doubt it. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt will probably not be in these.
At least Krasinski will probably get paid from it, so he'll be happy.
Yeah, for sure. Then, unfortunately, we have a lot of unfortunate news, sad news, and the layoff stuff that has been basically weekly in this industry here. Don't know if I think if this would have been like a year ago, 2 years ago, I think this would have been kind of a heightened news, more so. But another kind of veteran of Warcraft and World of Warcraft has left, or is going to leave Blizzard. He's the franchise general manager in SCP, John Haidt. He is resigning from Blizzard after being with them for way more than a decade. He's been involved with everything like WoW, Hearthstone, Warcraft Rumble, or the Warcraft RTS, all that in the past 3 years. He's worked with them for 12 years already. And yeah, he kind of just wants to do his own thing now, explore something else that's not Warcraft. He says that Warcraft's in the best place it can be. I don't know about that, but yeah.
People are oddly hyped about, or they have been hyped about the recent classic. I don't know if I think it's Mr. Pandarian nonsense, whatever. I don't know. He's been there a long time.
People love the pandas, Mark. People love the pandas.
Yeah. He's been there a long time. I'm sure he wants to just get out of it, or he just might have gotten sick of it, or it might have been some contract thing like, okay, I'll be here enough to shepherd Microsoft buying this thing, or getting their own people installed, and I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And then you can also kind of just put it in that perspective of all right, well, they know what's going on with what's the road ahead is for World of Warcraft. That's not really changing.
Right.
Those three, they announced the 3 expansions at once, so kind of it probably feels like, okay, what else is there to do with this? And I don't blame him at that point.
Right.
Kind of move on with it. If there's a time for you to do something in games, I guess why not?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem for WoW to lose another veteran like that, or
no? Because it also, I mean, sometimes people come back, like that one guy, Chris Metzen. So
Yeah.
I mean, it probably is a kind of a burning out type of job.
Right.
Or,
Definitely.
it's, like with every live service game, like eventually you just get sick of it or you want to do something else, but you're not able to. So you need to step back.
It's crazy that this series is going to be 30. It's like
Right.
almost all of our entire lives, this game has existed. People, Anaya has no idea what World of Warcraft is. So,
right.
like,
Well, that's the
yeah,
problem, kind of, is, only people our generation, or maybe like the generation like below ours, knows what Warcraft is, because they
right,
don't put out Warcraft things anymore.
exactly.
Like,
No,
WoW is 20 years old.
yeah,
They're
and
not getting new players. I
well, and
mean,
then when they did, it wasn't good. So
right.
that didn't help
So
either.
yeah, like I think if like the best thing they could actually do is put out like another generational thing where it's like, okay, here's Warcraft 4,
Mhm.
and then we're upgrading WoW to like WoW 1.5, or we're gonna be, it's gonna be a dramatic shift in how WoW is to like the new status quo of Warcraft 4, but they can't do that.
It's interesting to me that like it feels like with Final Fantasy 14, they do try to advance like the graphics and things like that with every expansion, and then like
Yeah,
WoW kind of doesn't. They just
WoW
yeah,
does it like extremely, like they had like one big, I think it was Cataclysm. That's when they had like the really big graphical update,
mhm.
but it still wasn't even that great, because it's like, okay, you're upgrading this game, a 10-year-old game, to be from 5 years ago, and that's it. And
Yes,
they upgrade it, okay, like they upgrade it every so often, but it's very incremental or very minor.
right.
Like they're so like locked into that art style and how the game looks that it always looks like that.
Because there's literally people that they don't need to upgrade their PC because if that's the only game you play,
Right.
you can just keep having that same PC because it stays the same, right?
Yeah, and it's
Um,
also like, think about like Korean, internet cafes, like they're running in like old ass PCs,
right,
but
exactly.
like WoW runs on this, so here you go.
Yeah, exactly. That's the issue. Like the higher you make it, the more you kind of weed out the people that are still playing on the old machines, and then they don't probably have the income to just buy another
Right.
machine to just keep playing with this. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it is what it is. Another dev leaving there for Warcraft.
I mean, at,
Yeah,
at least he's leaving on his own. He's not getting
yeah,
fired.
exactly. It's not getting fired. It's not part of some scandal. Like it's a good thing
Right.
for once. The rest of the stuff is very very rather
Oh,
unfortunate news.
well,
Yeah,
one semi-related thing. Do you see that Larry Harris is going to Unity?
no, but
Yeah,
okay.
he's joining the community. He announced it like earlier today, but he's joining the community team at Unity
Somebody at Unity smart there. If you're gonna get somebody to hype up
to try to
dev
salvage.
stuff,
Well,
right?
to try
Yeah,
to
just
salvage the company. It's like, well, this guy's available, so
exactly. Somebody that could get people behind your
and this guy's available and still has a somewhat good track record or good reputation.
exactly. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like he announced like this is the first time he has nothing to do with whatever Xbox is doing at the Summer Game Fest, and I was like, wow, it really has been that long since he left. And then yeah, it's like
Right.
right then he announced he's been doing stuff with Unity. So interesting.
Yep.
There, I wonder if he would have been. I'm sure there's some kind of like maybe a non-compete or something that he had to deal with too. Like I wonder if that was up when Unity was having all the bad news, if he would have even thought about that at that point.
I don't know. He left Xbox a while ago.
Yeah.
He left. Well, he left Xbox last year. Man,
Right.
maybe. I mean, Yeah, his non-contract or non-compete would probably be up in like a year. So that's just
Yeah,
about a
exactly.
month
Makes
off.
sense.
So yeah.
Well, the supposed Sims competitor that Paradox Interactive was working on, Life by You, has been canceled. No surprise there. This game's been delayed. I don't know how many times. And basically, they just said it seems like Life by You was just not coming together, even with the additional time. Deputy C, yeah, go ahead.
It's a shame because I actually did like that trailer quite a bit. Or it
Right.
looked rough. Don't get me wrong, but I think The Sims needs a good competitor.
Oh, it does definitely.
Because The Sims is extremely stagnant, and I think this thing was extremely overambitious. Because they're like, oh, you can create anything and everything. It's like,
mm-hmm.
And it was also supposed to be like online, like some big MMO type world or something. It's like, let's get
almost like they were
out.
trying to do Second Life and The Sims together.
Right. It's like focus on the Sims part first, and then if that goes well, then you can do all this integrated network bullshit that you want to do.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's a shame. I mean, I don't like The Sims, but I like the idea of it, kind of. So having like I said, a competitor or something in that space would have been good.
Yeah, I mean, we've also seen like where Paradox Interactive has kind of just
they keep shitting the over.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They just aren't. Their games that are coming out are just not doing well.
Right.
And then this is just another case of that. So I think like they're just kind of like, okay, we got to keep looking at that budget, keep closing stuff, keep unfortunately doing layoffs and things like that to kind of get back in the red. And
yeah,
this is another casualty of that, unfortunately. I mean, they did try to. They were going to release an early access, and they actually delayed it like weeks before that too. So
right.
At least they didn't have it go out and then have to like shutter it or whatever.
They didn't pull a Kerbal Space Program too.
Yeah, exactly. Just like let's not have it be a disaster like that. So it sucks. It sucks for the people working on it.
Yeah.
And all those people that will maybe let go at some point if that happens as well because of this. But it is what it is. With this gaming situation right now. Speaking of being let go, another studio is being closed by Embracer Group. This time, it is Pieces Interactive. Of course, they're based in Sweden. Existed for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And they most recently had done the much maligned Alone in the Dark remaster or reboot or whatever.
That's how or that's why they were shut down.
Yeah.
I hate to say. I mean,
yeah.
they did other stuff like on and off and on, like other development work. But I think that Alone in the Dark thing was like their big shot.
Exactly.
And it wasn't like completely awful. Some people actually kind of like it, but it didn't sell worth a damn. And I don't even think most people don't even know what Alone in the Dark is anymore.
Definitely not. It helps that you're trying to go off the resurgence of survival horror, and then, Alone in the Dark is a like known franchise for gaming. It's the I guess you'd call it the Godfather of survival horror for some folks.
No, yeah, it came out before like Resident Evil, but also
right.
It's like it's a problem of like I mean it might be the originator, but other stuff got way more popular.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that Silent Hill 2 remake.
I think I think Dead Space is a good example. Like that's an actual good franchise.
Yeah, and that game was great. The remake.
Yeah, and that game didn't sell for shit, unfortunately. I mean, it sold well enough.
It sold well. It's not good enough for EA, but it's
right.
Sold
That's
well.
the problem.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny. A lot of that Silent Hill 2 remake has gotten a lot of bad press, or a lot of diehard Silent Hill fans are up in arms over it.
So mad.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
But they're mad about the stupidest stuff, though. Like they're
Yeah.
mad about thinking the game was something that it's not, and it's like, did you play that game, or are you just like going off of what you want the
Right.
game to be? Like that's
Yeah.
you're getting mad about things that have nothing to do with that. But yeah, I mean, they had their own kind of things like Puzzlegeddon and Leviathan Warships and Magica 2, that kind of stuff. They did work on like Titan Quest as well once with Embracer buying them. So they had done some things. Unfortunately, it's just another casualty of not doing well, and Embracer's trying to doing anything to find a reason to like close the studio, let go of people,
tightening belts. Yeah.
It's unfortunate and it sucks for everyone. And again, hate seeing this, and we're gonna keep talking about it because now another UK based company, Sumo Group. Of course, they're now owned by Tencent, but of course, we just talked about them when we talk about the Little Big Planet and all that stuff with Sackboy. They are the folks that worked on Sackboy's Big Adventure, worked on Team Sonic Racing, Chinese Room, and then also involved in this group is the folks that work on Little Orpheus, Dear Esther as well. Chinese Room is the team that works on Dear Esther and Little Orpheus. I'm sorry. And it sucks. Another UK company losing folks. This studio has all these studios, the 19 studios have over like 1,650 people. And that means that about like 250 people could lose their jobs here. It's about 15% of the workforce. And yeah, it's unfortunate for these people. Again, losing jobs. Games industry kind of just sucks for all of that right now. Whether you work in the media of it, whether you work in the gaming, the development side of it, the whatever side of it, it's all being affected at this point.
Right.
And you look at the numbers, it's already up there with what we had in 2023, and it's probably going to well exceed it by the time we're not even 6 months through this year, and we're already at that number. So it sucks.
Yeah.
And one more to add to that, Galvanic Games, the folks that work on the Wizard with the Gun game, which I love the trailer. Thought the game was actually pretty decent. And they actually did well sales-wise to start, but then obviously sort of being a service game, it was always going to be a tough battle for them, especially being an indie studio. They closed down because it didn't do well enough, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sucks. Any predictions you think Nintendo might do for that Nintendo Direct happening tomorrow?
Maybe like Peach DLC.
Yeah, I think that's a definite for sure.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna show Metroid.
I'm pretty much at the point where Metroid is going to be a launch game for the Switch 2 at this point.
I'm pretty much at the point where Metroid's going to be canceled.
No way. You think they would cancel Metroid Prime 4 at this point?
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, I think it'll be Metroid Prime 4 is canceled, and then here's Metroid Dread 2, or here's another 2D Metroid game.
I do wonder if, would they go ahead and announce... They did say that they have, well, not Nintendo per se, but, the big folks, Jeff Grubb and others, have said that they're basically sitting on Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters.
Right.
And also the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker remakes for the Zelda side as well. They're just kind of sitting on those.
I no longer, here's the thing, I no longer believe Nintendo rumors because of the Switch Pro.
Yeah.
For like a year they were talking about, oh, it's coming. Here are the specs of it, or here's all the other bullshit, and then it never came out.
Right. So. I mean, I think to the point where they kept delaying it to the point where they're like, "Oh, we might as well just release a Switch 2 because what would be the point of a Switch Pro?"
Right.
At that point. And even then, I mean, it's like Nintendo's not trying to rush to get out the Switch 2. They keep pushing it back and saying, "Okay, you really are going to wait until possibly the fall of this year." I wouldn't be surprised if like it's the same deal as last time, or even then they make you wait till next year and it's like in the spring they announce it and tell you, okay, it's coming out in the summer or the fall of 2025. So they just promised that they're going to announce it before March 31st, 2025. That's all they promised you. That's it.
Yeah.
It would be cool if by the time October, November rolls around, they do the same thing they did with Switch 1, where they just release a trailer and go, here it is. Get excited, but we'll see. Man, I would think that they need to release something, right? Like one of the like remasters you're sitting on, like for the big franchises, right? Because Mario, you exploded Mario out. Like I don't think there's anything else that you can really. You did Paper Mario, you did Luigi's Mansion 2 remaster, remake, whatever. You did the Princess Peach, Mario versus Donkey Kong. All that stuff did well. It will probably continue to do well.
Right.
But I feel like it's been long enough where you could. I mean, maybe. I mean, they said there was going to be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. So unless they go back on that, and
I doubt it. I mean, yeah. I think that game's just kind of done, or they're going to move on.
Yeah, I could see maybe something from the Square Enix, like lots of rumors about there's a Bravely Default game being worked on, or that they were going to do the remasters for the two 3DS games. Maybe something like that as well. Wouldn't be surprised if the Monster Hunter related also. Yeah, it's going to be fun to get up tomorrow morning and see what Nintendo has for us. I expect a lot of ports, I'd imagine, as they always do. And we can all be happy with a Nintendo Direct because that's what people enjoy these things. They're the originators of doing these big presentations. We'll see how that goes. But speaking of things coming, I talked about it basically at the beginning. We know what people are waiting on for this week. People, we know everybody's waiting to get back on that Elden Ring train on Friday.
They're going to announce tomorrow that Elden Ring is coming to the Switch.
Yeah, a cloud version again.
Yeah, the most busted ass way possible.
We haven't done a cloud version in a long time, so we had to do it with the biggest game there is, Elden Ring.
Right.
Let's do it. Like, could you imagine? A cool indie game, Blood, is coming out this week on PC. People should go check that out. Still Wakes the Deep. That'll be on. I think that's on Game Pass. I keep talking about it. That's that like survival horror. You're on like a sinking, or I don't know if it's a sinking ship, but it's like a vessel out in the water, kind of thing. That's coming out tomorrow. Basically, you'll be able to play that as well. Moonstone Island comes to the Switch. That also comes out this week. And yeah, pretty much we know what's coming on that Friday for Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth Tree. Everybody's just waiting to, get to the weekend, and then your whole weekend is just play Elden Ring, I guess.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm screwing around with Dying Light 2 right now, but once that Elden Ring DLC comes out, me and I'll be playing that as much as we can.
Yeah. So definitely people get ready. We'll be able to, or at least Mark will be able to talk about that. And hey, that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD comes out at the end of the month, so you'll have that as well soon. But all right, until next week, enjoy your Nintendo Direct, everyone. And we'll see you back here on the following Monday.
Later.